A lot of contract workers and freelancers are under the impression that applying for a home loan is very difficult or sometimes even impossible. Well, bond originator Anna Motahung has agreed to talk us through exactly how easy this process actually is. Anna, welcome to All About Property.
Thank you.
Now, for that person who's self-employed, there's obviously not regular funds coming in. How can he make sure that he maintains a good credit score?
The advice that I normally give to the self-employed or even contract workers is that they must always make sure that they pay themselves, no matter how little. Even before you pay your employees, pay money from the business account into your personal account. That way it reflects more like a salary.
Yes.
And whatever expenses that you have will come off your personal account. The banks look at that as affordability as well.
A lot of self-employed people feel very discouraged when they have to think of all these documentations that they have to submit with the application. But you're saying there's no reason for people to feel discouraged?
Not at all. It's just compliance. As you know, every business must be registered and there are documents for the business. And if we have those documents in place from the beginning, it even becomes easier.
Now let's talk about some of these documents. The first document is financial statements. What is that?
The financial institutions want to see the liquidity of the business. Hence, they ask for the financial statement. In a trading company, they need 2 years financial statements so that they can see that from the first year to the second year, the business is growing. And if there are any employees, how the director is paying themselves, all those things, they check on the financial statement. And if it has to make profit. One of the things. The business has to make profit to qualify for a home loan.
Then you also need to have your personal bank statements as well as the business bank statements ready.
Yes. The reason for the business bank statement, remember we have financial statements that show the profitability of the business, the liquidity of the business, but doesn't necessarily show the cash flow. Hence, the banks ask for 6 months bank statement of the business to see that there's cash that comes into the business regularly. And for the personal bank statement, again, it goes back to where I said you have to pay yourself every month. So when you pay yourself every month and things like your personal grocery, you have personal expenses that you incur, every person incurs every month.
Yes.
And it have to be shown that the business is able to sustain you as the director.
Is it true that you need a letter from your accountant?
Yes.
What is that letter all about?
It's just a letter confirming your income from the accountant. Because when you're self-employed, what happens most of the time is self-employed individuals who will pay themselves less. Because what they're taking is normally equivalent to what they owe and not necessarily what they're worth, if I can put it that way. So the accountant will write a letter to say, even though this person is deducting this much from the company, their salary is actually that. And when we do an application, we do an application based on the income that is declared by the accountant.
What about those self-employed people who don't have all these documents? And I'm specifically talking about, the lady who runs a catering business from home, the Uber driver. There's regular income, there's enough income, there's affordability, but they don't have all this documentation. What about these people? Can they go out and apply for a bond?
Yes, they can. The only thing that will need will be an accountant to confirm their income. And most of the time for people like individuals like those, they tend to pay money into their personal account.
Yes.
So if we have an accountant that verifies that that's the income that they get from the business, yes, the banks are prepared to look at that.
So let's just take one step back. The first thing they need to do is get themselves an accountant.
Yes, please.
What will that accountant do?
The accountant is a bookkeeper. The accountant is actually a bookkeeper. What they'll normally do is every month they'll go through their statements. Those people are what we call sole proprietor. They don't have registered companies,
Yes.
but they are trading as well. It's more like your professionals, your lawyers,
Yeah.
your medical practitioners. They also most of them don't have registered companies, but they're trading in their personal name.
Okay.
So the accountant is able to compile a financial statement for them in their personal name.
So all you do is you get an accountant.
Yes.
That person issues you with a letter.
Yes.
You submit that letter with your application.
Yes.
And off you go.
Off you go, and the proof, as long as the income that is on the letter can be verified on the bank statements as well.
Now, I know we always say on the show, when you apply for a home loan, always do it through a bond originator, okay? But I think if you are self-employed, even more so, do it through a bond originator. And I think just explain to the people why it is so helpful and so beneficial for your case to do your home loan application through a bond originator.
Bond originators are specialists, and we specialize strictly in home loans. And we fight for every deal.
Yeah.
We fight for any application that lands on our table, because the success of that application is our success.
Yes, people need to understand the services of a bond originator is free.
That's correct. It is free. We are paid by the banks, and it's not even deducted from your bond when it's approved. The banks look at bond originators as other source of business for them. So we have a legal contract with the financial institutions, and yes, our service is free.
Well, Anna, thank you very much. Really lovely chatting to you.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.